Hello Dub Nation, it's always a thrill to connect with you, especially as we're about to reveal the latest news that could shape the fate of our beloved Golden State Warriors. But before we dive into this whirlwind of information, let me make a friendly request. Show us some love by clicking the like button to strengthen our bond, and hey, if you are not subscribed yet, join our channel for a thrilling and emotional journey. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay ahead of the game.
Richard Jefferson believes the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole drama was inevitable. You could see it coming based on their behavior. The Golden State Warriors captured the 2022 NBA title after defeating some of the league's top teams, including the Boston Celtics in the finals. Steph Curry was the obvious standout, leading the charge and finally securing his long-awaited finals MVP. Alongside him, the legendary trio of Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green played crucial roles, not just through their experience, but through big-time performances when it mattered most. Another key contributor to that championship run was Jordan Poole, who had a breakout season and emerged as a critical scoring option off the bench. He averaged 17.2 points during the 2022 playoffs, and it felt like Golden State had found the perfect piece to extend its dynasty into the next era. But only a few months later, cracks began to show. During a team practice, tensions boiled over. Draymond Green punched Poole in a now infamous altercation. Though Green was fined and stepped away from the team for a short period, the damage was done. The two would share a locker room for another season, but the chemistry was never the same. According to former NBA player Richard Jefferson, this wasn't just an isolated incident, it was a storm that had been building. "Look, I don't know Jordan Poole personally," Jefferson said, "but when you watch his behavior and Draymond's over the past couple of years, you can kind of see where this was going. Jordan's a talented guy with all-star potential, but he still needs to learn how to lead. And we've seen Draymond struggle with how he handles those dynamics." Jefferson continued, "The fact that this blow-up happened wasn't shocking, it was actually very predictable. A clash of opposites. As players, both Green and Poole brought real value to the Warriors. Poole's spark off the bench helped ease the offensive burden on Curry, while Green's defensive IQ and leadership were vital to the team's identity. But personality-wise, they couldn't have been more different. Poole is lighthearted, playful, even during games. Green, on the other hand, turns into a fiery, intense competitor the moment he steps on the court. According to Jefferson, that contrast in mentality may have been what ultimately led to the incident. "What happened between them didn't come out of nowhere," he said. "We haven't heard a word from Poole since it happened, but Draymond has spoken publicly about it multiple times. Everyone has their side of the story, and then somewhere in between, there's the truth." Even after their split, Jefferson notes, we've seen Draymond still dealing with his frustrations in other ways on the court. And we've seen Poole make questionable decisions himself, moments where you say, that's not how a future leader plays. He's a champion, no doubt, but some of those habits need to be checked. A new chapter, but the story isn't over. Since that fateful punch, Draymond has opened up about the situation several times. Poole, in contrast, has kept quiet, never directly addressing it. Now 26, Poole was traded once again during the 2025 offseason, landing with the New Orleans Pelicans. In the upcoming season, he's set to face Draymond Green and the Warriors 3 times, and for the first time, it'll be as a direct Western Conference rival. He did face his former team while with the Wizards, but now that he's back in the West, and with their shared history, it's very possible that a new rivalry is brewing. Fallout and reflection, a turning point for both careers. The punch wasn't just a moment of internal conflict, it became a defining moment in both players' careers. When the video of the altercation leaked, it sent shockwaves across the league and sparked widespread debates among fans, analysts, and former players. Many criticized the Warriors' handling of the situation. Some felt Green should have faced a harsher punishment, while others blamed the organization for allowing tensions to escalate behind closed doors. The locker room dynamic was reportedly shaken, and although the team tried to present a united front, the chemistry was never fully restored. Jordan Poole's performance declined noticeably during the 2022-23 season. Once a confident shotmaker, he seemed hesitant and inconsistent. Whispers around the league pointed to the lingering effects of the incident, how it may have impacted his mental state and comfort level within the team. By the time he was traded to the Washington Wizards, it was clear the Warriors were moving on. The deal brought in veteran Chris Paul, signaling a shift towards short-term championship contention rather than long-term development. In Washington, Poole struggled in his new role as the face of a rebuilding franchise. Without the structure and star power around him, his weaknesses became more apparent. But in the 2024-25 season, he seemed to find his rhythm again, more focused, more composed, and determined to reclaim his narrative. Meanwhile, Draymond Green also faced scrutiny. His history of emotional outbursts, technical fouls, and ejections began to overshadow his contributions. In the 2023-24 season alone, Green served multiple suspensions for on-court incidents, including an altercation with Jusuf Nurkic and another confrontation with officials. The league and fans started questioning whether his intensity was still an asset or becoming a liability. Yet through it all, Draymond remained unapologetically himself. He continued to speak openly about the Poole incident on podcasts and interviews, framing it as a mistake, but also justifying his actions as a byproduct of competitiveness and team culture. His comments were often polarizing. Some saw them as honest, others as deflective. A potential rivalry brewing. Now with the New Orleans Pelicans, Poole enters a new chapter surrounded by a young and talented roster that includes Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. It's a chance to redefine his legacy in a more stable and competitive environment. The Pelicans are looking to make a serious playoff push, and Poole's role could be pivotal, especially in big moments. Facing the Warriors 3 times this upcoming season, the narrative practically writes itself. Fans, media, and players all know what's at stake. These aren't just regular season matchups. They're emotional, symbolic, and deeply personal. Will Poole finally speak out publicly about what happened? Will Green see these games as redemption or as another chapter in an unresolved feud? The NBA world will be watching closely. More than just basketball. At the heart of it, the Draymond Poole incident is about more than just a punch. It's about ego, leadership, accountability, and the human dynamics that shape professional sports. It's a story of how locker room culture can elevate or break a team. It's a story of how 2 players, both essential in their own way, became symbols of a fractured dynasty. And now, 2 seasons later, as they face off once again on different teams, it's a story that's far from over. Stephen Curry wants his champion teammate back, and he's pushing the Warriors to make roster moves now. Stephen Curry has made it clear, he's chasing a 5th championship, and he knows he can't do it alone. As the Golden State Warriors face a quiet and uncertain offseason, the franchise's biggest star is now applying pressure, not just for major changes, but for the return of one key teammate. Curry wants Gary Payton II back in a Warriors jersey. While most of the attention in Golden State has been focused on contract negotiations with Jonathan Kuminga, Curry has his eyes set on another name, Gary Payton II. The gritty defensive-minded guard was a critical part of the Warriors' 2022 championship run, and according to NBA insider Brandon "Scoop B. Robinson, Curry has been directly lobbying the front office to bring him back. Steph's voice carries a lot of weight in Golden State, Robinson wrote. I've been told he's been in direct contact with Gary Payton II, pushing the Warriors to re-sign the defensive ace on a 2-year deal. At 32, Payton still brings the same relentless defensive energy that earned him a spot on that championship roster. Much like his Hall of Famer father, Payton II has carved out a reputation as one of the league's toughest on-ball defenders, exactly the kind of presence Curry values, especially as he shoulders so much of the offensive load. Payton averaged 6.5 points per game last season, his best defensive output since the 2022 title run, where he also posted 1.6 steals per game in the finals. More importantly, his defensive instincts often made up for Curry's limitations on that end of the floor, giving Golden State a crucial edge. But there's a problem. He's stuck in limbo, like many other potential Warriors signees, waiting for the ongoing Jonathan Kuminga contract saga to play out. Curry showing signs of frustration as Kuminga negotiations drag on. Behind the scenes, the tension is growing. The Warriors are the only NBA team yet to sign or re-sign a player this offseason, with just 9 players currently under contract. And while they've offered Kuminga a 2-year, $45 million deal, the 21-year-old forward appears to be playing the long game. He's reportedly considering signing a $7.9 million qualifying offer to hit unrestricted free agency next summer, and he's in no rush to make a decision, possibly waiting until October. That delay has frozen all other roster activity. Players like Al Horford, one of several free agents linked to the Warriors, are reportedly growing antsy. NBA reporter Anthony Slater noted that while Horford has been understanding so far, things could get uncomfortable if there's no movement by September. And Curry? He's not hiding his impatience anymore. At his recent youth camp, The four-time champion admitted that we need some pieces to help us get to the next level, and made it clear he expects the roster to be set by the time training camp begins. A delicate balance between loyalty and urgency. Curry has never been the kind of superstar to stir public controversy or criticize the front office. But this summer, his tone has shifted. First, subtle comments about roster improvements. Now, direct involvement in trying to re-sign Gary Payton II. It's a rare peek into the urgency that Curry, now 37 years old, is feeling as his championship window narrows. He's still playing at an elite level, but he knows time is running out. The Warriors have one of the greatest players of all time, still in top form. What they don't have yet is the supporting cast needed to make another deep playoff run. If the front office can't resolve the Kuminga situation soon, they risk wasting a critical offseason and possibly testing the patience of their most important player. Front office on the clock, Warriors' legacy hanging in the balance. With Curry turning up the heat and free agents waiting in the wings, the Warriors' front office finds itself under mounting pressure to act, and act fast. What was once the most stable and admired organization in the NBA is now facing uncomfortable questions about its direction. Fans are starting to voice their frustration too. After missing the playoffs last season and watching rival Western Conference teams reload, including the defending champion Denver Nuggets and the rising Oklahoma City Thunder, there's a growing concern that Golden State is falling behind. And it's not just about one or two signings. It's about retaining a winning culture, something Curry has fought hard to preserve since the dynasty first took flight nearly a decade ago. Letting someone like Gary Payton II walk, a player who embodies the Warriors' identity on defense, would be a blow not just to the roster, but to the locker room chemistry that's been a hallmark of their success. NBA analysts are also starting to weigh in. On a recent segment of NBA Today, ESPN's Brian Windhorst said, "When Steph starts pushing like this, it's a signal. He's not panicking, he's applying urgency." The Warriors are walking a fine line between planning for the future and honoring the present. And Steph Curry is the present. The Kuminga question, future star or trade asset. At the center of the holdup is Jonathan Kuminga, a 21-year-old forward bursting with talent but still looking for consistency. His development has been one of the franchise's biggest bets, and for good reason. His athleticism, size, and flashes of two-way play have drawn comparisons to some of the league's elite wings. But Kuminga's role has been murky. Despite showing promise, he was benched during critical playoff moments in past seasons, leading to speculation about tension between him and head coach Steve Kerr. While the Warriors are clearly invested in his future, the contract stalemate has reignited rumors that Kuminga could become a trade chip. Several teams, including the Orlando Magic and Charlotte Hornets, have reportedly expressed interest, not just in Kuminga, but in the Warriors' broader willingness to shake things up. Still, Golden State seems determined to keep him. The front office views Kuminga as a bridge to the next generation, someone who can extend the Warriors' competitiveness beyond the Curry era. But the question remains, at what cost to the current window? Time is running out, and everyone knows it. Curry has never been more direct about what he wants, a roster built to win now. His patience, while still rooted in loyalty to the franchise, is clearly being tested. And if this offseason passes without key additions, or worse, with more key departures, it could have long-term consequences. Behind the scenes, it's believed that Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are also watching closely. While both veterans are locked in for the upcoming season, there's uncertainty beyond that. If the front office fumbles this moment, it could accelerate the end of the Warriors' iconic core. Meanwhile, other teams are circling. League insiders say executives across the NBA are monitoring the situation in Golden State closely, curious to see whether the Warriors will finally commit to winning around Curry or take a half step into a rebuild. The bottom line. This is more than a contract dispute. More than one roster spot. More than Curry asking for a teammate back. This is a pivotal moment for the Warriors, a franchise at a crossroads between honoring the dynasty and building what's next. But if they're not careful, they may find themselves with neither. Curry's message is clear, he's still ready to win. The question is, will the Warriors do what it takes to give him that chance? Jonathan Kuminga could leave $14 million on the table, but an NBA insider thinks he'll blink first. The standoff between Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors continues to loom large over their off-season. While both sides are reportedly still in talks, the gap between what's been offered and what Kuminga wants is starting to grow more expensive by the day. Golden State has offered the 22-year-old forward a 2-year, $45 million contract extension. But Kuminga declined, citing the absence of a player option in the second year as a deal-breaker. From his perspective, the lack of flexibility doesn't reflect the value he's bringing, or could bring, to a team with championship ambitions and a rapidly aging core. And he's not wrong to feel empowered. Kuminga's athleticism, upside, and flashes of two-way brilliance have caught the attention of multiple teams around the league. According to league sources, both the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings submitted trade proposals to Golden State earlier this summer. The Warriors declined, not because they're fully committed to Kuminga, but because neither offer included a first-round pick. Despite all this, Kuminga is reportedly weighing the idea of signing the $7.9 million qualifying offer, which would make him an unrestricted free agent next summer, giving him full control over his future. But doing so would mean walking away from $14 million guaranteed next season. That's a major gamble. Kuminga will blink first, The Athletic's Marcus Thompson weighs in. This drawn-out negotiation has left fans and insiders speculating who will cave first, the team or the player. Veteran NBA writer Marcus Thompson, too, of The Athletic, believes Kuminga is more likely to give in. "I have to believe Kuminga will blink first," Thompson wrote. "It's easy to say you'll take the qualifying offer, but giving up $14 million to prove a point is a lot harder to execute. I understand why he doesn't want to sign a team-friendly deal, but if you're already at a disadvantage, you might as well pocket the extra $14 million. The tension here lies not only in the money, but in the message. For Kuminga, holding out is a statement. He sees himself as more than just a trade asset. He wants a deal that reflects both his current value and his long-term potential. Golden State may be playing the long game, but at what cost? Behind closed doors, there's a growing belief that the Warriors may be holding on to Kuminga primarily to leverage him in a future trade. With Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson approaching the twilight of their careers, Golden State is desperate to remain competitive, either by building around younger talent or by using those assets to land another star. That's precisely why Kuminga's camp is hesitant. They don't want him to sign a deal only to be shipped out months later as part of a blockbuster trade. There's a sense that Kuminga wants to build something, not be used as a short-term chip. But it's a complicated position. Kuminga is one of the few young tradable assets the Warriors have left. And that makes him incredibly valuable, whether he wants to stay in Golden State or not. Kuminga is the last meaningful piece they can build around, The Athletic reported. Re-signing him keeps them in the game. Even if they don't believe he's worth $50 million, it's better than losing him for nothing. In other words, locking him in, even slightly over market value, makes far more sense than watching him walk, especially for a team whose championship window may be closing. Kuminga's future stalls Golden State's off-season plans. While the standoff continues, so does the delay in roster building. The Warriors are currently holding off on finalizing any new signings until Kuminga's situation is resolved. That means players like Al Horford, Gary Payton II, and DeAnthony Melton, all reportedly waiting to sign, are stuck in limbo. Each day that passes puts the team further behind in preparing for the upcoming season. And with training camp quickly approaching, there's a growing sense of urgency, especially from Steph Curry, who has already made it clear that he wants moves made now, not later. If the Warriors want to compete for a title in what could be the final stretch of their dynasty, they'll need to stop playing the waiting game and make a decision that sets the tone for their future. The bottom line. Jonathan Kuminga holds real leverage, but so do the Warriors. If he takes the qualifying offer, he bets on himself, risks injury, and gives up millions for the chance at freedom. If the Warriors dig in, they risk losing a promising player and delaying an already stagnant offseason. It's a high-stakes game of poker. Someone's going to blink. But with $14 million on the table and a roster stuck in limbo, the clock is ticking. Inside the stalemate, a franchise trying to compete while preparing for the future. The Golden State Warriors are walking a razor-thin line, one foot in the past, still clinging to the legendary core that delivered 4 championships, and one foot tentatively placed in the future, with young talents like Kuminga meant to carry the torch. But now, the two timelines are colliding. And the result is stagnation. League insiders have begun to question whether Golden State's front office has a clear plan, or if they're caught in a cycle of hesitation, afraid to commit fully to either direction. Several agents have reportedly grown frustrated with the lack of clarity from the organization, unsure whether to advise their clients to wait or move on. One NBA executive anonymously told The Ringer. The Warriors don't want to lose Kuminga. But they also don't want to pay him what his camp thinks he's worth. Meanwhile, they can't finish their roster. It's a bad look for a franchise that used to be the model of smart, proactive team building. That uncertainty is causing ripple effects beyond just contract negotiations. Free agents losing patience. Could the Warriors miss out? Multiple free agents, both veterans and younger role players, are reportedly waiting on the sidelines, hoping to land in Golden State once the cap situation becomes clearer. But with the Kuminga saga dragging on, that patience may soon run out. Veteran big man Al Horford is said to be one of the Warriors' top targets. At 38, Horford would bring much-needed interior defense, leadership, and playoff experience, a perfect fit next to Draymond Green and Kevin Looney in the frontcourt rotation. Sources close to Horford suggest he's willing to accept a team-friendly deal, but won't wait much longer. Meanwhile, Gary Payton II, a locker room favorite and defensive specialist, remains unsigned. As previously reported, Stephen Curry is personally pushing for his return, lobbying the front office to bring him back on a short-term deal. But again, the holdup is Kuminga. Another target, DeAnthony Melton, has had interest in joining Golden State, but teams like the Bucks and Sixers are now circling, ready to strike if the Warriors can't act fast. Simply put, waiting too long could cost the Warriors every one of their top options. Steph Curry's clock is ticking, and he knows it. What's making all of this more urgent is the growing reality that Steph Curry won't be this elite forever. Though still playing at an MVP caliber level, the 37-year-old guard has made it clear he's not interested in transition years or rebuilding seasons. He wants to compete for titles, now. Curry's recent comments, paired with his behind-the-scenes involvement in roster discussions, signal that he's taking a more vocal leadership role in shaping the roster. "We need pieces to get us back to that championship level," Curry said at his youth camp earlier this summer. "I'm confident we'll figure it out. But time's ticking." Those words weren't just about Kuminga. They were a warning shot. If Golden State fumbles this offseason, it risks not only alienating Curry but squandering what may be the final years of his championship window. What happens if Kuminga bets on himself? If Kuminga does choose to accept the $7.9 million qualifying offer, it puts the Warriors in a precarious position. Yes, they keep him for one more season, but he becomes an unrestricted free agent next summer, with no guarantee of re-signing. Worse, they lose the ability to match any offers. And if they decide to trade him mid-season, interested teams will know they're dealing from a position of weakness, which could tank his value on the market. In short, it's a lose-lose situation for Golden State if they let this drag too far. For Kuminga, betting on himself isn't just about money, it's about control. But there's risk too. An injury, a down season, or a reduced role under Steve Kerr could all hurt his long-term market value. Still, sources close to Kuminga say he's serious about holding the line, unless the Warriors include a player option or increase the guaranteed money. The bottom line, Golden State's offseason hangs by a thread. Everything, from key signings to the direction of the franchise, now hinges on whether the Warriors and Kuminga can find common ground. The longer the impasse continues, the more strained the relationships become, and the more likely it is that Golden State loses ground in a brutal Western Conference. Curry is watching. Free agents are waiting. Other teams are circling. The Warriors still have time to make this right. But with each passing day, that window gets smaller. Someone has to blink. Jonathan Kuminga risks losing $14 million in standoff with Warriors. NBA Insider predicts he'll blink first. Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors have been locked in ongoing negotiations this offseason as they try to reach a resolution on his restricted free agency status. The Warriors reportedly offered Kuminga a 2-year, $45 million extension. However, the 22-year-old forward turned it down, primarily because the deal didn't include a player option in the final year, a key sticking point for him. His elite athleticism and evolving game have made him a highly valued prospect across the league, with teams like the Phoenix Suns and Sacramento Kings showing serious interest through trade offers. Despite that, Golden State declined those trade proposals, largely because they didn't include a first-round pick. Now, Kuminga faces a pivotal decision. He could accept the team's qualifying offer, a move that would make him an unrestricted free agent next summer, but doing so would cost him roughly $14 million this season. It's a risky bet on himself, but it's still on the table. Drafted 7th overall in 2021, Kuminga has shown flashes of brilliance and big-game poise in his young career. Ownership, especially Joe Lacob, is reportedly a fan of his potential and wants to keep him around. That loyalty is one reason why the Warriors haven't moved him, yet. Still, there's tension behind the scenes. The Warriors are in a transitional phase. With Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and potentially Jimmy Butler if acquired, the team's aging core won't be around forever. Kuminga represents a bridge to the future, but under the new collective bargaining agreement, Golden State is being cautious with how they structure deals. NBA insider Marcus Thompson too recently weighed in, predicting that Kuminga may be the one who gives in first. "I have to believe Kuminga blinks first," Thompson said. "Saying you'll sign the qualifying offer sounds strong, but actually leaving $14 million on the table is a tough call. I get why he doesn't want to take a team-friendly deal, but if you're losing either way, wouldn't you rather take the extra $14 million? Meanwhile, there's speculation that the Warriors may be holding on to Kuminga primarily as a trade asset. His upside makes him an attractive piece in any potential blockbuster move, which could explain his hesitation to commit long-term. He's not just playing for minutes, he's protecting his future. At just 22, Kuminga already has playoff experience and has played on the game's biggest stage. With the current Warriors core nearing its end, he's one of the few young players the franchise can realistically build around. As The Athletic put it, Kuminga is the last meaningful asset they can use to reshape the core. Re-signing him keeps them competitive. That's why bumping the offer to, say, 2 years for $50 million wouldn't hurt them, even if they don't believe he's worth quite that much. It's still better than losing him for nothing. Golden State's off-season plans have been put on pause as they wait for the situation to play out. Veterans like Al Horford, Gary Payton II, and DeAnthony Melton are all in a holding pattern, waiting to see how the Kuminga deal shakes out. Ultimately, the Warriors may need to offer him the player option, or risk watching him bet on himself and walk away next summer. And if that happens, they won't just be losing a player. They'll be losing their bridge to the future. And now, the stakes are even higher. As the off-season winds down, the impasse between Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors remains unresolved, and the ripple effects are becoming harder to ignore. According to insiders, several players the team is interested in signing are in a holding pattern, waiting to see how this situation plays out. Golden State's roster plans are essentially frozen until Kuminga's future is clarified. There are also growing rumors that the Warriors are exploring other roster moves, including trade targets to fill Kuminga's potential absence. But no major deal can move forward until there's clarity. The qualifying offer, a bold gamble. Kuminga is reportedly considering signing the 1-year, $7.9 million qualifying offer. Doing so would allow him to become an unrestricted free agent next summer, giving him full control over his next move and the freedom to choose his next destination. But there's a catch. He would be leaving $14 million on the table compared to the 2-year extension the Warriors have offered. Some league executives believe this could become a nightmare scenario for Golden State, who would lose trade leverage and risk having Kuminga walk for nothing in 2026. For Kuminga, however, it could be a calculated bet, sacrifice short-term earnings to gain long-term autonomy and a potentially bigger payday elsewhere. Behind the standoff. The Warriors offer a 2-year, $45 million deal with no player option and a team-friendly structure, has been viewed as restrictive by Kuminga's camp. They want more flexibility, particularly in the form of a player option or a partial guarantee in the second year. The absence of that flexibility has been a deal-breaker so far. Meanwhile, Kuminga's name has surfaced in trade talks with teams like the Kings and Suns, both of whom reportedly showed interest. But Golden State rejected those offers, in part because they didn't include a first-round pick, highlighting just how much the Warriors still value Kuminga as a long-term asset. Locker room and fan reactions. Inside the locker room, Kuminga continues to have support. Teammates have publicly spoken in favor of keeping him, praising his work ethic and potential. But the fan base is more divided. While many recognize his talent, others have grown frustrated with what they see as an unreasonable contract stance, especially considering Kuminga has yet to consistently secure a starting role. A franchise at a crossroads. The broader issue for the Warriors is structural. With Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the remaining core entering the final phase of their primes, the team is caught between chasing another title and preparing for the next generation. Kuminga, at just 22 years old, represents a rare bridge between the two eras, a player who can contribute now and also grow into a future leader. Losing him, or mismanaging his value, could have long-lasting consequences for a team already navigating financial constraints under the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement. What happens next? The clock is ticking. If a deal isn't reached soon, Kuminga may follow through on accepting the qualifying offer and betting on himself. That decision would reshape the Warriors' off-season plans, impact their trade leverage, and potentially open the door for a complete roster shakeup. The coming weeks could define not just Kuminga's future, but the next chapter of the Golden State Warriors.